Good afternoon, students. My voice is audible, and can you see my screen? Yes, students, can you respond?
Good afternoon, sir. Yeah, we can see the screen, sir.
Okay. So let me wait for a few other participants. Then I'll start the session. Let me wait for a few more minutes. Meanwhile, students, it is better if you can create these two activities in your XML document. Let me wait for a few other participants, and then I'll start the session. Let me wait. Okay, fine, students. So let me start the session. Now, so with respect to program 3, you need to create two activities, right? So with respect to your program 3, you need to create two activities. And before that, my voice is audible, students? Can you hear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay. So here, you need to create two activities. And this is your first activity. This is your first activity. And this is your second activity. So two activities you need to create in this program, right? Now, once you create a project, by default, you're going to create one activity. That is, you'll be clicking blank activity. With respect to blank activity, you'll be creating one activity, right? There's a one activity you'll be creating, right? Okay, so once you design the first activity, you need to add to your existing project, you need to add one more activity. You need to add one more activity, and I'm calling this activity as second activity, right? Now, how to add a second activity to your project? So in order to add an activity to your project, what we need to do, let me clear it. What we need to do it, let me go back to page number 20. Okay. So you see that on the left side, let me zoom it properly. Let me zoom. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you can see here students. So on the left side, of the page, you can find here Java, right? You can find Java. Under this Java, you can find a package name, right? Under this package, you can find this main activity, right? This is your java.java file, and you can find this in .java. This is yours. This is your main activity. And in order to find your XML, you should go under layout. Under resource, you should go to layout. Under your layout, you can find an XML file. This is your XML file. Okay, that's what your XML. You can find this XML file in your layout. So once you create a project, by default, you'll be having these two files. One more is, the first one is main activity.java, and one more is activity underscore main.xml. So this is your first activity. This is your first activity. And now to this project, you need to add a second activity. So how to add a second activity? Let us see now. So let me clear my drawings and let me move to the next slide. And you see that, students? Yes, you can see that. You see that here under this package, right? This is the name of the package. You click on this, you need to right click on this package. Once you right click on this package, you'll be having some new, okay? So what you need to do, you need to go to this new, and it'll take you to, and 1 second, and let me scroll down. Yeah, okay. You need to right click here on the package. You need to right click, and you'll have this new. So once you go to this new, again, you'll get one more drop down list. Under this drop down list, you should go to activity. So once you click this activity, they'll take you to empty activity. It'll take to empty activity. Then you need to click this empty activity. So once you click this empty activity, a second activity will be created. No, actually still the second activity can be created. Once you click this empty activity, a second activity can be created. So let us see. So once you click this empty activity, what's going to happen? Let us see. Let me scroll that down. So once I click empty activity, I'll get a corresponding page. Okay. I'll get a corresponding page, and in this page, you need to mention the name of your second activity. Here you need to specify the name of your second activity, and the name of my second activity is nothing but is login activity. So this is nothing but when you write login activity, it creates .java file. It creates a .java file, and what is the name of this .java file? Is nothing but it is login activity.java. See, corresponding to this Java file, if you want to generate an XML file, corresponding to Java file, if you want to generate an XML file, you need to check this box. You need to check this box. I believe by default, this box will be checked. Okay. As you know that every activity, so this is an activity, right? This is an activity. As you know that every activity will have two important files. Every activity will have two important files. The first file is .xml file. The first file is .xml file, and the second file is .java file. Every activity will have these two files, .xml file and .java file. Using .xml file, what I can do, I can design. Using .xml file, what I can do, I can design my activity. I can design my activity using this .xml file. Using the .java file, what I can do, I can make my activity dynamic. In other words, I can make my activity quite responsive. What is responsive? If I click on this, if I click on this activity, some action takes place. So that's why we call it as responsive. So if you want to make your activity responsive, you need to add code inside your .java file, right? I think in previous class we have seen calculator. In order to make your calculator quite responsive, what we have done, we have written a code inside your .java file. So here also, so with respect to a second activity, it's mandated that we need to have two files. One is .xml file, one more is .java file. So here when you're writing login activity, okay, I'm going to create a .java file, and the name of this .java file is nothing but is login activity.java. So when I'm trying to check this checkbox, okay, corresponding to this .java file, an XML file will be created. So using this XML file, what we can do, we can design the second activity. We can design the second activity. So once you do this, so once you specify your activity name, just you need to specify only activity name. I think by default, this will be created, layout name, all these things will be created. There's the name of the package. Okay. Here I'm trying to use a language called Java. See, there's one more language apart from Java, there's Kotlin. But actually we are not using Kotlin. Okay, using Kotlin also we can make our application dynamic, but here we are picking Java as your language. Okay, we are not using this Kotlin. If you want to use, you can use it, but right now with respect to our lab programs, we are going to use Java. We are not using this Kotlin. Okay, so once you specify the name, only one thing, this is the name you need to specify. I think automatically all these values will be built automatically. Okay, and don't check this box. You should never check this box. Okay, don't check this box. Okay. Okay, fine. Once you do all these things, you need to click this finish. So once you do all these things, you need to click this finish. So once you click this finish, a second activity will be created. A second activity will be created. So right now in your application, you'll be having two activities. This first activity by default will be created, and the second activity just now we have created, right? So let me clear my drawings. Let me go back to back. Yeah. So these are two important activities you need to create. This is my first activity, sign up. The first activity is sign up activity, and the second activity is a login activity. Okay. These are two activities you need to create. I think you know how to design, right? Just you need to do drag and drop. So once you do drag and drop, you can create these two activities, right? In order to make this activity dynamic, that is once I click this sign up button. Actually in this program, actually what we are trying to do in this program, let me discuss. Here, we are asking user to enter. Let me zoom the screen so that they can see it. Let me zoom it. Yeah. It's fine. So let me clear my drawings. Yeah. In this program, actually what we are trying to do, here we are asking user to enter a username. We're asking user to enter a username, and then we're asking user to enter a password. This is sign up. So I want to sign up to my application. So we are asking user to enter a username, and we are asking user to enter password. The most important thing is, in order to enter a password, they're given some constraints. Okay, in order to enter a password, they're given some constraints. So what this constraints we'll see later. They're given some constraints. What's the constraints? A password must have at least one uppercase, okay, or a password must have at least one digit. This is 0, 1, 2. It has at least one digit, and it must have some special symbol. And the length of the password should be minimum 8 characters long. So like this, some constraint is there. That constraint we'll see later. Okay. Now let us assume here user has entered username and he has entered a valid password. So once he has entered a valid password, once he clicks sign up button, after entering a valid password, he'll click sign up button. Once you click the sign up button, I need to go move to the second activity. Okay. The details is correct. I should move to the second activity. And in this second activity, what I should do, I need to enter username and I need to enter the password which user has entered here. Okay. The user. I'm going, okay, the same password you should enter. Okay, and the username also, I should enter the same username. Now I'm going to click login. So once I click login, if the username I entered here in sign up page, the username which I've entered should be same as the username which I've entered in login page. And similarly, the password which I've entered in sign up activity, it should be same as the password which I've entered in login activity. If everything is same, once I click the login button, I'll get a toast message stating that the login is successful. Let us assume I entered a different password. I entered a different password called ABC. If I enter different password, if I click the login button, it will throw an error message stating that invalid login, and it'll print one. Uh, one. One is that one. The one indicates that I made one attempt. Now let us assume that user has changed the password. ABC123 is entered. Okay. Again, I press login. So again, I entered invalid password. So again, it'll print a message stating that invalid login. And now the number of attempts will be 2. 2 times attempted. Let us assume that he has entered one more password, ABC123 $. And this also is entered an invalid login. So he has entered login button, and it will print that invalid login count is 3. So once the count reaches 3, I'm going to disable this login button. Disable is nothing but you can see the login button, but you can't click it. Okay. So if three times I've entered invalid password, I'm going to disable this login button. And that's what this entire code is, or entire program is the logic of the program, right? So any questions, students, with respect to this? So let me clear all my drawings now. Now here, first let us focus. What's the constraints? What's the constraint to enter a valid password? I said that user has to enter some valid password. And what are the constraints for entering a valid password? Let us see this, right? Let me clear my drawings. 1 second. Here, let me scroll up. Yeah. So these are the following rules which we need to follow in order to make sure that user will be entering a valid password, right? So let me share my screen. These are the constraints we need to follow, right? Is it possible to read, students? Can you read it? I'm sorry. Can you read the text? You want to zoom the text? Can you read it? Yeah, fine. Now let us go to this. Now, here you say that, okay, the password should contain uppercase letters and lowercase letters, okay? And the password should contain letters, and it contains numbers. When I say letters means it can be either uppercase or it can be lowercase. And not only that, it should contain some special characters, okay? So now what my password should contain? So my password should contain, in the color. So my password should contain an uppercase. My password should contain an uppercase letter. My password should contain a lowercase letter. My password should contain numbers. And finally, my password should contain special characters. So these many things my password should have. And not only that, you see that what's the minimum length of the password? The minimum length of the password must be 8. The minimum length of the password must be 8. So these are the constraints which we need to follow whenever user wants to give a valid password. So if all these constraints, if the password consists of all these constraints, then my password is a valid password. If at least one thing is failed, then my password is an invalid password, right? Now, in order to do that, I need to write a regular expression. Okay. Using regular expressions, what I can do, I can determine whether a user has entered a valid password or invalid password. Now, let us see how to write a regular expression, right? Now, listen very carefully. Probably you might have studied regular expressions in your lower semester. And the same thing applicable here also. So when you write anything in square bracket, let us assume this is a square bracket. In the square bracket, I have written capital A hyphen capital Z. So when I write the capital A to capital Z, what it means, okay? Now, I'm matching a character. I'm matching a single character. You say that I'm matching a single character. Matching a single character, right? So when the square bracket indicates that I'm matching a single character, and this single character can be any character in this range, that is A, B, C, D, and up to Z. Okay, for example, I've written a password called ABC. Okay, so this is my regular expression. This is my regular expression. So now in this password, is there any uppercase A? And B, C, D, E, F, G up to Z. I'm having any uppercase letter? I don't have any uppercase letter. So this is an invalid password. It's an invalid. Now, in order to make this as valid, what I should do? I can include probably D. You see that in this password, okay, I'm having at least one uppercase. You see that? That's what it's doing. So this square bracket indicates that I'm going to match at least one character in this range. You see that I've included here D. So therefore, it is nothing but it's a valid. It's a valid. Let us assume I've included uppercase 5. Then also it's a valid. It's a valid. Why? Because I'm having at least one uppercase character. Is it right, students? Now, here we see that you should have both uppercase and lowercase. So what I'll do, and inside this, I'll write small a to capital Z. Okay. And now, is it a valid? Yes, it is a valid. And next he says that you should have a number 0 to 9. 0 to 9. Now, is it a valid, students? Yes, it is a valid. So now, as per this expression, is it a valid password? Yes, it is a valid password. What I said, when you put anything in square bracket, I'm matching a single character. A single character can be in the range of A to Z. A single character can be in the range of small a to small z, or it can be in the range of digits, that is 0 to 9. Right? Now, is it a valid password? At is a valid password. At is not a valid password. Why at is not a valid password? You see that this at symbol is not present in this regular expression. The at symbol is not present. So that's why it is not a valid password. It's an invalid password. So in order to make this at as a valid password, what I should do? And inside this, I need to include a character called at. So once I include a character called at, so this will become a valid password. Right? Now let us assume it is not there. I've written 1, 2, 3. Is it a valid password? 1, 2, 3 is a valid password. 1, 2, 3 is not a valid password. It's an invalid password. Why it's an invalid password? Because I'm telling that I want to match a character in the range of capital A to capital Z, or I want to match a character in the range of small a to small z. But the password I wanted is 1, 2, 3. So therefore, there is no match. So we call this as an invalid password. But anyhow, with respect to our example, I should have digits from 0 to 9. I should have a special character. So a special character can be any character of your choice. But right now I'm picking at as a special character. And next I'm picking dollar as a special character. I'm picking exclamation mark as a special character. Suppose you want to include any additional characters, you can include. The choice is yours. So with respect to our program, we have taken the special characters as at, dollar, and exclamation mark. Right? Now, listen very carefully. 1, 2, 3. Is it a valid password? I need a response from you. 1, 2, 3 is a valid password? Yes, students?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So with respect to this regular expression, 1, 2, 3 is a valid password. But the most important thing here you should observe is, let me erase my drawings. Now, the question says that, say 1, 2, 3 is a valid, A, B, C is a valid, A, X, Y, 1, 2, 3 is a valid, this is a valid, okay? Or I can say at A, B, X, 1 is a valid. All these are valid passwords. All these are valid passwords. But the most important, you need to check. The constraint says that my password should have at least one uppercase and at least one lowercase. But if you write regular expression something like this, it is not checking whether my password is having at least one uppercase or at least one lowercase, or it's saying that I should have at least one uppercase, at least one lowercase, or at least one number, and at least one special characters. All these constraints, it's not checking. What is checking? It is checking whether I have a digit, that's fine, it's a valid. If I have a lowercase letter, it's a valid. If I have an uppercase letter, it's a valid. If I have a special character, it's a valid. That's what it's checking, right? So now what I should do here, in order to do that one, I'm going to include, we call look aheads. Actually, the syntax of this, go like this. Okay. Question mark, colon. So I'll write corresponding expression, dot, dot, and your regular expression dot indicates any character. Dot indicates any character, and this character I want to repeat 0 or more number of times. The star indicates that I want to repeat this single dot 0 or more number of times, followed by, I'll write capital A to capital A to capital Z. Okay. And we call this as look ahead. Now what I'm doing, now in this password, anything which is matching this, what I'm trying to do, I'll prefix this. Now, anything which is matching this, I'm checking. I see dot star indicates, dot means it can be any character. Dot means it can be any character. It can be 1, 2, 3. Any character followed by, you should have at least one uppercase character. That is, their uppercase character can be in this range. That is from A to Z. So now with respect to this regular expression, this is an invalid. So this becomes invalid. And this also will become invalid. This also will become invalid. Is it right? Because in both cases, I don't have an uppercase letter. Now, these two has become a valid statement with as per this regular expression. Now, as we know that I need to check for at least one lowercase also. So now what I should do, now the same expression, what I can do, in my given password, okay, I want to check for at least lowercase letters, that is A to Z. So I'll be writing here. Now what it says that, okay, so it's dot star indicates that it can be any character, and any character can be repeated 0 or more number of times and followed by lowercase letters, right? And now let us check. 1 second. Let us check. Now, is it a valid? Yes, this is a valid. Is it a valid? Yes, it is a valid. Because here I'm checking for uppercase letters. Yeah, I can find at least one uppercase letter. So this is a valid. Now here I'm checking for at least one lowercase letter. I have lowercase letter. Yes, it's or lowercase letter. So this is a valid. And next you see that here also I'm checking at least one uppercase letter is a valid. I'm checking at least one lowercase letter. It is a valid. So now still these two passwords are valid. Now let us try to add. Let's try to add and one more thing. What is that? And my password should have digits. I should have digits from 0 to 9. At least one digit I have to have in this range, 0 to 9, right? Now let me put here. Okay. And that's what it says, right? So my password, so this is the password. This is the password. In this password, I need to check at least one uppercase letter. It is there. So in my password, I need to check at least one lowercase letter. Yes, it is there. So in my password, I need to check at least one digit. I have a digit. Yes, I have a digit. It's a valid, right? Now, similarly, in the second case also, and in second case also, it will be valid, right? So I'm having one uppercase letter, one lowercase letter, and I have a digit. So these two passwords are still valid, right? Next, what my password should have at least, my password should have at least one special character. So the special characters can be at, it can be dollar, it can be exclamatory mark, right? So let me put here, and let me put here, right? So now you see that. So up to here we are seeing, right? So up to here, these two passwords are valid. Now let us check. Now it is telling that my password should have at least one special character. That is, it can have at, dollar, or exclamatory mark. It is having at, dollar, exclamatory mark. It is not having. So that's why this password is an invalid password. It is an invalid password, right? Now let's move to this one. Okay, you see that I should have uppercase letter. I'm having uppercase letter. Yes. I should have lowercase letter. I'm having, yes, I'm having lowercase letter. I should have at least one digit, right? Yes, I'm having one digit. I should have at least one special character. I'm having a special character. So this one is valid. Valid. Now, the most important thing you should observe is, you see that here students, they said that the minimum length of the password should be 8. The minimum length of the password must be 8. Now, what's the length of this password? The length of this password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The length is 5. So we should not consider this password as valid. We should consider this password as an invalid password. How to do this? So in order to do this, what we should do, you need to tell in flower brushes. The flower brushes says that the length of the password, that is 8. The minimum length of the password should be 8. And the maximum, you can set it. It's up to you. Want to set, you can set it. Otherwise, you can leave it. 8, comma, you can put it. Means there is no limit. There is no limit. The minimum should be 8. I'm sorry. So the minimum length of password should be 8. The maximum is there is no limit. So this is the regular expression. Now, this is the regular expression which you are going to use. Okay. Now with this regular expression, you see that, and this will be an invalid. Why it's an invalid? Because I'm telling the minimum length of the password should be 8. And what's the maximum? There's no limit on the maximum. It can be anything, right? So it will be an invalid password. So you have any questions with respect to regular expressions, you can ask. Any questions, students, with respect to this regular expression, what I've done? Any questions? No questions. Now this is also become invalid, right? So in order to make it valid, I write something I can write it. Now the length is more than 8. Now the same, since the length is more than 8, now it has become a valid password. It's a valid password. Now, as you know, the student, as 0 to 9 can be called as digit. 0 to 9 is nothing but a digit. So I can use D to horizontal. Instead of writing 0 to 9, I can write like this also. Okay. In Android Studio, instead of writing 0 to 9, 0 to 9 can be written as 2 backward slashes followed by D. And similarly, the same thing here also, I written 0 to 9. So instead of writing 0 to 9, I can use these 2 forward slashes. So why I've taken these 2 forward slashes? Because in your manual, they written this 2 forward slashes. This is nothing but writing 0 to 9. You see that D, the word, the letter D stands for digits. What is digits? Digit is nothing but is 0 to 9. Here also, they picked here D. D is nothing but is referring to digits 0 to 9, right? You can do like this, or you can do 0 to 9. What I've done initially. Both are fine. Everything will work fine. Okay, there's no difference. I hope you understood this regular expression, right? Now, with respect to this regular expression, with respect to this very big regular expression, we are going to match. We're going to match whether user is going to enter a valid password or invalid password or invalid. This regular expression looks to be complicated. It's not complicated. It's quite simple. Only one thing you should understand. Using this regular expression, we are going to identify whether user is going to enter a valid password or invalid password, right? So let me clear my drawings. Let me go ahead. I hope you don't have any doubts. In case you have any doubts, you can ask. Otherwise, let me go back to the manual. Yeah, let me scroll down. Yeah, so that's what we are seeing, right? So now we are going to discuss .java file. We are going to discuss .java file. .java file with respect to first activity. And just now we have seen the regular expression of this password. So just now we have seen the regular expression of this password. Okay. So the password which user is entering, the password which user is going to enter, I'm going to match this password with respect to the regular expression which you have discussed right now. Okay. So any password user is going to enter here, I'm going to match with this regular expression, whether he has entered a valid password or invalid password. Okay, so this code I'm going to write inside my Java, inside my .java file. And what's the name of this Java file? Probably main activity, I believe so. It's nothing but the name of this Java file is nothing but main activity.java. Okay, main activity.java. So now let us, so the name of this file is main activity.java. So let us scroll down to main activity.java. Right. My drawings. And one more thing, students. One more thing. I know I'll come to that later. So let us go to that. I hope this and all you know. I think last class I've discussed, right? Last class I've discussed this. This is your activity. So this activity is asking for username, text box, password, text box, and one button, submit button, one submit button. Okay. Now inside your .java file, right? And that's what you are seeing here. You see here, see main activity.java. Okay. What is the file name we are seeing? Main activity.java. Right. We are inside this main activity.java. Right. So let me scroll down. Now, what I should do, students? I need to refer to this text box. I need to refer to this text box. So I need to refer to this text box inside my Java file. How I can refer? I can use find view by ID. Okay, so I'm referring to this text box. This text box. Okay, so this text username is referring to my text box. And similarly, you see that a password which user is trying to enter. Okay, this I need to refer. How I can refer? By using this statement. This statement. So this text password is referring to this text box. Okay, text username is referring to this text box. Okay. Now once I click the submit button, what has to happen, student? What's the action? Once I click the submit button, okay, I need to move. It means from this activity, I need to move to the second activity. That's what I said. So this is my first activity. Once user click the submit button, so after entering username and password, and before that, after entering username and password, here step one, what I'm trying to do? Step one, I need to validate. Step one, I'm going to validate whether user has entered a valid password or invalid password. Let us assume that user has entered a valid password. If user has entered a valid password, after clicking the submit button, I'll be moving to the next activity. I'll be moving to the second activity. That's what we are trying to do here. So now here you see that once I click the submit button, some action needs to be takes place. What action I need to takes place? The action is nothing but I need to check whether user has entered a valid password or not. So in order to do that, what I should do? I need to register a listener. Last class I've discussed about this listeners, right? So this button sign up is nothing but it's referring to this submit button. It is referring to this submit button. It's referring to this submit button, right? So in order to take some action, what I should do? I need to register a listener to this button. So right. So once an event takes place, what I should do? I need to process this event. In order to process this event, I need to write an on-click method. And that's what we have seen in the previous class. I've discussed this, right? And now the same thing here also applicable, right? So let me clear my drawings. Let me clear. Now, that's what it is. This code is very good code. You can focus. Now, change activity. So this username, this password, this text. So user has entered username as Shyam. He entered password as, let us assume he has entered password as 123. Right? Now the password which users entered, what I should do? I need to retrieve. In order to retrieve, what I should do? Text username. And just now you're seeing scroll up. Text username refer to this text box. Text username refer to this text box. Now what I want the text inside this text box. In order to get the text inside this text box, I need to call get text. You see the name itself speaks. Get text means I want to get the text inside this text box. So once I get the text inside this text box, this text I need to convert to string. So in order to convert to string, I'll be using toString method. So now this entire text, that is Shyam, I'm going to convert to a string. Now what this username contains? Is username contains nothing but the text which I've entered is nothing but is Shyam. It contains Shyam, right? And the type of this nothing but is string. And similarly, I'm going to retrieve this password. How to retrieve? The same fashion. As we know that txt password is referring to this text box. It is referring to this text box. But I'm not interested in this text box. I'm interested in the value inside this text box. In order to get the value inside this text box, I need to call get text. So once I call get text, I'll be getting the text called 123. And this 123, I need to convert to string. So in order to convert to string, I'll be using toString method. Now this entire password will be stored in this variable. And what's the password I've entered is 123. And the type of this password is nothing but is string. I hope you understood this. Now, once I got the password and we need to validate. So once I got the password called 123. Okay. The password which I've entered, I need to validate. In order to validate, I have written a function. Students, very, very important. Validate password is a user-defined method. Okay, is an user-defined method. What is user-defined method? Means I have written, you have written. Okay. So validate password is a method. It is a method, but it's not an inbuilt method. It is not an inbuilt method. It's a user-defined method. So the name of the method can be any name of your choice. It depends upon how you are going to pick the name. Suppose I can pick the name as VP. VP.